are technically inclined, would be able to connect to that URL that I sent out and see what your basically use your token, use your JOT token to see all of your contracts in sort of a programmatic manner. So there's a REST endpoint right now, which is being exposed here for those technically involved.
They can copy the curl thing from the party JOT dropdown, right?
Yep. In fact, what I'll do is I will send you, let me see if I can, I will send you my own curl token. So normally I shouldn't give my JOT away, but what I'll do is I'll send that. You can type this into a terminal if you're inclined, and then you can see that it's a globally exposed endpoint. Oops. So I'll run that curl command here too. Oops, never mind. I sent the wrong thing. Just a sec. I should copy it as a curl command, not the JOT command. Now that thing is long and complicated, but if we have a look, most of it is actually just a token. So if you're familiar with public-private key cryptography, most of this is the public version of the token, and then the rest of it is really the endpoint, where it says HTTPS API blah blah blah. That's the actual REST endpoint. Sort of that gets us a little bit to what's in the back end of my UI. So this is the front end, which is actually being hosted itself on our cloud-based server here. So I deployed that asset, which is a React front end, and it is backed up by my DAML model. So here's the DAML model that I uploaded. And this is spelling out all of the business processes and all of the APIs of that ledger. And in fact, this is the only thing I have to do to set up a smart contract. Sorry, to set up a DLT. I sort of also have a God's eye view of the data on this ledger. And this is strictly because you all logged onto my ledger, so I can see that these are the logins that you have used to do so. But I can't actually see anything here. So I'm only as your name has been exposed because that's what you specified, for instance, at Google. But even that could be obscured if you chose to do so. So I don't see any details about that. But from my perspective, I can see all of the contract that we saw before. So most of these are funding requests, and you can see kind of the technical version of the contract itself.
So these are what you have access to are your transactions that you made with these guys, but you can't see their transactions.
Well, I can see most of them because I'm the treasurer, so I'm the one backing all of those transactions. They can't see each other's. So most of these are funding, so these are your positions. And as a treasurer, I need to be able to see who I basically gave money to. And some of you have successfully been able to send out wires as well. Oh, somebody bought beer. Okay. Let's see. Smoothie. Oh, that's mine. Let's see. Do I have any wire requests? Oh, I don't think I gave enough money to somebody to be able to have a wire request. But so this is a God's eye view of all the contracts that I'm entitled to see. Behind this, there is all of the APIs which you can use to access this from any endpoint. So including your own, including you could just be sending things in via a Python script if you wanted to, are all exposed here. So in particular, this is pretty well documented in the API docs. So it's a handful of REST calls here. Okay, so kind of the wrapping up a bit. The main point here is that we wrote the business logic out once. We wrote the UI once. We deployed it very quickly, and it's immediately a production ready and publicly available application that you can give to different people. and nothing can happen on that network without it having been spelled out inside the DAML itself. In this case, the UI and the business logic are hosted in the same place, but in a sort of in a stack that doesn't use our cloud. You can imagine that the application is being served by a typical UI server, which is connecting directly to the DAML runtime, which then is connecting to an underlying persistence layer of some sort. And all of those components are completely portable. So if you decide tomorrow that you don't like a SQL database, you can deploy on Sawtooth without changing any of the business logic. I think that's all I wanted to discuss. Manish, did I miss anything? And do you guys have any questions online there?
I think there's a question from Bart. As far as the React app, can you show the source code for connecting to the API? Is there any configuration required?
Okay, good point. Good question.
And you can also, at this point, I think you can also measure you can also mention the free, the GitHub repository where they can download the open source code.
Yeah, yeah. So firstly, to those that have signed up for DAML, you have access to this workspace here. You can create your own projects. You can deploy your own ledgers. The ledger that I picked is deployed here. There are some sample applications, including in React, including in DAML. And by the way, this ledger, all it consists of is the DAR file, which is the DAML, as well as the UI assets, and that's it. I didn't do anything in addition to expose this to this URL that I sent you all. So there's no deployment step. It's deployed already. To see the actual source code, the most interesting part that I had to modify myself this morning is this thing here. So you can see that we built an integration with TypeScript that creates these classes in TypeScript based on the DAML that you create. So you create your DAML model, and all of these objects, all of these types get created immediately in JavaScript. So you can use them as first-class objects. In general, if we look at this thing, you have approximately 200 lines of DAML, including the loan application, about 200 lines of DAML that describes the entirety of the business logic, including lines of credit and all of that stuff. And several thousand lines of React code. But thankfully, we templatized most of it. So all you have to do is go to an open source repo and download that application. And only there's a handful of files you need to change yourself. And of course, if you're an expert on building React applications, you can modify